Hey guys, thanks for joining. Welcome to another video from Team Quickshift. Out here in the natural habitat of the Honda Africa Twin. We recorded two other videos talking about the whole setup, why the Honda Africa Twin, why these crash bars, what type of luggage. And we wanted to also talk about the pros and cons of the bike, right? We did not do that so far, so let's give it a try. I have some notes here with me, and I would say let's start with the negative aspects from my perspective, my personal view, of course, after around about, I think, 12,000 kilometers on the bike now. So maybe it's not a negative aspect, rather a neutral point, at least from my perspective, because first point would be the buttons. You have a bunch of buttons on the top left here for navigation, for music, for menu structure, for everything basically. And in all the reviews I've seen on the internet so far, people criticized the buttons. From my perspective, you do not need a PhD to understand what the buttons do. It's quite easy, I would say, but up to you and the other guys struggling with the buttons. Of course, it's a lot more than, let's say, a classic bike from 2006, 2007. But I would say everybody who rode about 100 kilometers with the bike should be able to handle the buttons. Okay, then let's continue with the negative aspects. First point from my perspective is cruise control. Cruise control you can only activate when you are in fourth gear. When you're in third or second gear, you cannot activate cruise control, and I think you have to be faster than 50 kilometers an hour. Not a big problem when you ride through villages, for instance, or cities, because you can use the fourth gear even with a pillion rider, even with luggage and so on. No problem at all. But it would be, let's say, more comfortable if it would also be feasible when you are in second or third gear. Good. Next point would be, from my perspective, Bluetooth functionality. One of the main reasons, and I will mention that later on when I talk about the positive aspects, to buy this bike was the Apple CarPlay and I think it's called Android Auto functionality. So you can connect your phone with the bike and then use Google Maps, for instance, for navigation. And in general, that's a positive aspect for me. We'll talk about that later on. But the negative aspect is you have to connect with the bike via cable. And I can show that as well, have an adapter here mounted on the top right hand side of the bike, which allows me to connect via Bluetooth, so I can put my phone in my pocket and then just go riding. I do not need a cable or something. I can just use Bluetooth functionality. Good. That's second point from my perspective. And the third and already last point is reset of the electronic settings. So when you switch off the bike and you are in off-road mode, for instance, and you want to start the bike again and make sure you switch off the ABS, for instance, the traction control as well, you have to do it again. So you have to go through the menu quickly and switch these functionalities off. I fully understand why Honda did this, due to safety reasons, for sure. But it's quite, sometimes it's annoying. For instance, today we spent the whole morning and afternoon as well recording in the forest and had to switch off the bike a couple of times. And then when you turn it on again, you have to reset the electronics to the settings you had before. I think it's not needed when you use the kill switch. But yeah, and that's it from my perspective with the negative aspects. Now I would say let's switch to the positive aspects. First of all, again, only personal view, the looks. For instance, have a look at the bike from Mirabe. I'm not sure if that's pronounced in the correct way, but the bike of this guy is looking stunning, really great. I like also the front, the headlights, quite aggressive. So looks, of course, was one of the main reasons for me to buy the bike. Second point, let's have a look at the notes here. Capability of riding with a pillion rider. So basically, when you are riding with your girlfriend, with your wife, whatever, long distances, and want to carry a lot of weight in terms of luggage with you, that's a positive aspect for the Honda Africa Twin compared to other bikes like the Yamaha Tenere, for instance, where also the seat for the pillion rider is quite small. Here on the Honda Africa Twin, the standard seat has quite some space, I would say, and you can put a lot of weight on the bike. I'm not sure about the correct numbers now, but I think the bike weighs around 220 kilos and you can put 215 kilos on the bike. So that's quite a lot. And for me, that was one of the main reasons to buy the bike as well. Third positive aspect, off-road capabilities. For an adventure bike, and again, have a look at guys like Paul Tares or Kiran Mirabe, what these guys do with these bikes is crazy. They have quite some off-road capabilities, I would say. Always depends on the rider. So that is quite astonishing from my perspective, if you put on the right tires, of course, but then you can go basically anywhere around the world. Fourth point, the suspension. In 2024, Honda made the standard version, that's the standard version of the Honda Africa Twin, available with the Showa ERA, it's called, I guess, the electronic suspension. And you just have to push one or two buttons and switch from one rider mode to riding together, riding with luggage. So the suspension adjusts automatically also to different conditions like on-road, off-road, highway, and so on and so forth. And usually I'm not a huge fan of electronics. My race bike, for instance, has no electronics at all, the Fireblade from 2008. But here on the Honda, it's really a game changer, especially if you go on long distance travel, vacation. It's so easy to switch modes, and to be honest, I wouldn't do it when I'm on the road. Would never switch suspension settings during a ride. Okay, let's continue. Point number 5, I guess, is it the reliability of Honda, of course, also an aspect. For me, never had any issues with the bike. I wanted to mention that as well here. Last but not least, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Said that at the beginning already. For me, one of the main reasons as well to go with this bike, because back in 2023 and 2024, Honda, I think, was one of the only OEMs providing this functionality with a bike. I think it's only the Africa Twin where they offer this functionality. Other bikes from Honda, I'm not sure if they have that, but that's awesome. It's really great to use Google Maps when riding, especially in different countries. And you do not have to like put a map on your tank or anything else. So navigation, it becomes quite easy when you use this functionality. Okay, let me check again the notes. Yeah, pricing, also another aspect. Of course, these bikes, the adventure bikes in general, cost a lot of money. But there are other bikes out there, the BMW GS, for instance, which are around about 10k more, at least in Germany, Switzerland, Austria. So the Honda Africa Twin, I paid, I think in Germany it was around about 17k minus taxes. So net it was 14.5k. And then I imported the bike to Switzerland and paid in total 15.6k. Compared to a BMW GS, I would say about 5 to 10k less. Depends, of course, on your setup, certainly. But for me, pricing also an aspect. The Yamaha Tenere would be I guess a little cheaper, around 12,000 at the moment, I guess. But that was one of the last aspects I wanted to mention when it comes to positive, negative aspects, what I like, what I don't like with the Honda Africa Twin. Let us know what you think about adventure bikes in general. Maybe you have tried one of these as well, can relate to these aspects. And I would say thanks for joining. Riders stay home.